In the headlines, opposition MPs praise budget response while claiming the budget was empty. The National Youth Council President welcomed provisions in the 2018-2019 budget geared at youth advancement. And the invasive Cuban tree frog places Dominica's ecosystem under a new threat. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Thank you for seeing this. First up, following the presentation of the opposition leader's response to the budget on Thursday, Channel 5 News received feedback from the opposition members of parliament who commented both on the budget presentation and the opposition leader's response. In Wednesday's newscast, we brought you reaction from members of parliament on the government side and promised to bring your opposition reaction in this newscast. Here are members of the opposition commenting on the national budget, followed by their thoughts on the UWP leader's response.
What we have noticed is that the government issued some estimates, which is actually the plan to move the country forward over the next 12 months. But in the address of the Prime Minister, who was the one who manned the estimate, they were unrelated, totally unrelated. As a matter of fact, the major catching points in his address, like the international airport, the village, the ports, none of those items, absolutely none of them, had any figure in the estimate to support these items. So it is obvious that the government have just been throwing things in the air, because you cannot put an international airport under supplementary payments. Okay? You cannot put a container port under supplementary payments. So it is obvious that what the government did was to have really presented an estimate, realized that the estimate had no basis. The estimate could not move this country forward because there's nothing the estimate directing towards production, which is what Dominica needs now. With respect to the Honorable Lennox Linton's presentation, what I noticed he did was to have given Dominicans hope, given Dominicans something that they can hold on to. He has clearly said to Dominicans how we are going to move the economy forward, how we are going to create jobs, how we are going to make the lives of Dominicans better, and how we are going to make Dominica the best place to live, to work, and to enjoy life. This is what we saw coming out of the response of the opposition and leader.
MP for Roseau South, Joshua Francis, says he is disappointed in the budget as presented by the Prime Minister.
I found it to be very uninspiring. It had no innovative fiscal measures to grow the economy, which is a very important component to improve the quality of life for the people of Dominica. In addition to that, I found it to have a lot of recycled information. And thirdly, I found it to have promises that are disconnected with the actual estimates. So for example, the Prime Minister pronounced that he will build an international airport, but there is no facility within the estimates which would suggest or substantiate the Prime Minister's claim. Overall, I found the budget to be another lame budget that cannot bring the type of deliverance Dominica require. We continue to suffer with our young people as far as underemployment, high unemployment rate, and high out-migration of the best quality of brain drain, as we say. I found Mr. Linton, Honorable Lennox Linton's presentation to have been excellent. He gave the Dominican people hope. He dealt with fiscal measures, he dealt with innovative measures, he gave promises which are practical. So for example, he spoke about raising the minimum wage, which is a very critical issue for the young people in this country. We have to create a Dominica where people have reasons to stay. That is not the current situation. People tend to think that they're working from hands to mouth. With Mr. Linton, he gave practical examples of how we can grow the economy to at least 7 to 10% annually, even if it is predicted that it's forecasted Dominica's economy will decline by 16.1% between 2018 and 2019 fiscal year. With the United Workers' Party, when we do take power, we're going to grow this economy, because unless and until this economy is grown, we are not going to realize the full potential of Dominica.
What was glaring and missing in Prime Minister's presentation was the fact that there was nothing really specific for agriculture, in my view. After a major storm in the past, we've always seen a coconut rehabilitation scheme, citrus rehabilitation scheme, and even things like avocado rehabilitation scheme. I was looking for things like that. Now, my colleagues also mentioned the international airport. Over the next 3 budget cycles, there's no allocation in this budget for the international airport, so we know it is only something that is proposed to win votes. Now, coming to Lennox Linton's presentation, we have specifics in agriculture to revitalize the industry. We spoke about light manufacturing, and we spoke about a package, I think, of about $300 million to revitalize the small business sector. We spoke about the use of cannabis, for medical purposes. So there are specifics in the case of Honorable Lennox Linton, while we do not get those specifics in the case of Mr. Skerritt's presentation.
I must say I was very disappointed in the presentation of the Prime Minister. As previously said, a lot of recycled information. Even within his own presentation, he was repetitious. After Marie, a major storm like that, I didn't see anything for growing the economy, any specific projects in terms of ensuring that we get people working. One of his major projects he talked about is the NEP. And that is showing that we are way behind. If you're talking about employment creation, you should look about sustainable jobs for young people and moving in the right direction, because there are opportunities right now after Maria, so we can rebuild and create sustainable employment for our citizens. Mr. Linton was brilliant. He took his time to outline ways and means we can grow the economy between 5 to 7% over the next couple of years, moving in the right direction. He looked at bringing all partners, every stakeholder, and that is important. You want to grow the economy, you have to get every stakeholder on board, and that is what Mr. Linton showed in his presentation and gave us hope. He spoke as a Prime Minister in waiting and hoping to get the Dominican economy moving forward.
In related news, the government has allocated approximately $12.8 million to the Ministry of Education for the construction of schools.
The Prime Minister and Minister for Finance said in his budget address on Wednesday the focus will be on the structural aspects of the education system to be resilient to shocks, incorporating climate-smart components, disaster-resilient technology, and building back better principles for reconstruction and rehabilitative works. The Prime Minister believes this will translate into the creation of a better learning environment and more effective service delivery. Also in this budget, the People's Republic of China has pledged an estimated $15 million to support the construction of new climate-smart schools. The schools targeted are Tetmont Primary, Bellevue Chopin, Soufriere, Castlebruce Primary, Thibault, Calibichi, Goodwill Secondary School. The government of Canada has also committed $5 million towards the construction of the Grand Bay Primary School and Mont Jean Primary School. Major rehabilitation works will be done at the Dalis Primary School, the Salisbury Primary, and the Will Strathmore Stevens Primary School. During the fiscal year, preparatory works for the implementation of the project at the schools identified will begin. Additionally, $3.08 million expected to be spent on the reconstruction of a number of early childhood facilities through grant financing. The public investment portfolio for the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Constituency Empowerment amounts to $12.04 million. Almost $7.3 million relates to works required in respect of rehabilitation of the Windsor Park Stadium. $2 million is to be allocated for constituency empowerment, while $1.33 million will meet contractual payment obligations in respect of the National Multi-Sports Complex for the design phase of the project. President of the National Youth Council, Paul Barron, has been following the budget presentation and was again in Parliament on Thursday for the response from the opposition leader.
Prior to the budget, I had taken the opportunity to speak to the media with respect to our expectations, and I sought at that point to speculate, really, not being exposed to the content of the budget. And in benefiting from the presentation yesterday by the Honorable Minister of Finance and Prime Minister, all of what was speculated at that point was essentially met. And it is to say that those areas where, for example, human resource development is concerned will be prioritized on the opportunity for job creation in order to embrace, for example, our graduates returning to Dominica University and high-skilled individuals who would have gone out into the world and made something of themselves, that there will be an opportunity so that they will receive both technical and financial support in order to meet their business desires. Of course, we recognize that some sectors will receive a greater portion, and anything from social services to housing, all these things impact on young people generally. You understand? So as I can see now, the all-encompassing and comprehensiveness of the budget will ensure that the younger generation, anywhere from a child to a young adult, will be safeguarded. So it has in fact met our expectations, and we are looking forward to the resources being localized and trickled down so that the individuals benefit on that basis, and the society at large.
Still in education, Dominica's French neighbors have been commended for their hands-on approach in helping renovate damaged schools ahead of the next academic year. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Chandler Hyacinth, says people from Martinique were instrumental in securing finances to undertake the much-needed renovation works.
We also have emergency architects. They are completing works. They almost completed works at Ben's Primary School. They did the roof, they did the stage, they did the repainting of the whole school, they did division of the classes upstairs. That is almost complete. They are presently working at the Penville, re-roofing the Penville Early Childhood Facility and the Ben's Early Childhood Facility. They are the ones contributing towards the rehabilitation of the Woodford Hill Primary School. One of the things with emergency architects, a lot of the funds for emergency architects came from Martinique, where persons in Martinique were asked to give 2 days or a day of their salary towards the effort of rebuilding in Dominica, and it was a tremendous effort.
Hyacinth made special mention of teams from Martinique, which have also been on island lending their expertise in a very hands-on manner towards refurbishing school plants.
We had a group of students from Martinique. They were with us for a month. They rebuilt the kitchen at the Savant Pie School. 4 schools sent students towards that effort. They provided all the materials for the rebuilding of the kitchen, but when they came, they did not just do the rebuilding of the kitchen. And please note that for the kitchen, they had to do from foundation to roof. They also did some landscaping in the schoolyard.
The group Coreca, based in Guadeloupe, is financing some of the repairs to the Clifton and Monjon primary schools. You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Welcome back. Post-Hurricane Maria, government drew up a list of communities designated as disaster areas for evacuation or relocation. These communities included Colobus Tree, which was among the most severely impacted by Hurricane Maria. In his budget address, Prime Minister Skerrit announced that government had set aside 18 acres of land in Makoshri to create a new Colobus Tree. Mr. Skerritt said government recognized the vulnerability of some communities in building a climate-resilient country, and in that respect would be relocating several individuals and communities to safer locations. Colobus Tree falls within the Salisbury constituency. The parliamentary representative says the people need to be consulted on such important matters.
I have no problem in ensuring that people move in the right places and secured. I have no problem with that. My problem is the lack of consultation with the people of Colobus Tree. You have a community with about 163 households and a population of about 600 plus, and you're moving them, and you have yet to have a consultation with them, meet with them, dialogue with them, find out from them if what is the process, your timeline, you set your goal, what type of houses are we going to compensate you for your property, what are we going to do with the land when we move, how we are moving, what type of properties you're going to build for us if you move us to Makushri on that 18 acres, if you're going to give us our homes, or you're going to be in apartment buildings. All these things has to be taken into consideration. You have to hear from their end. The most important thing in project management is having every stakeholder on board from the inception. And if you don't have them on board, you have a problem going forward. You cannot shove things down the throat of the people of Colobus Tree. We not allow that. What we would like the government to come to us, this dialogue with us, and let us move forward. I think constructive engagement is needed, and it should be, the people of Colobus Tree should be respected. You should go down there as a government and meet with them, listen to them, engage with them, dialogue with them, let them vent, and then from there we can move forward. But until then, you will not get the type of cooperation from the people of Colobus Tree. I'm hearing it on the ground, I'm seeing it every day.
Dominica's ecosystem has once again come under threat from an invasive species. A new type of tree frog has been discovered on the island. Senior amphibian technician with the Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division, Marshall Sultan, says the Cuban tree frog was discovered in the Portsmouth area earlier this month.
To date, we can say we actually caught and killed successfully 10 Cuban tree frogs. But Forestry remains vigilant. We are still going out at least every 2 nights at the port of entry and do night surveys to make sure that we eradicate all remaining Cuban tree frogs. I can say that we actually believe that they are females because we did find nesting sites of Cuban tree frog tadpoles. What we did again, we had to dispose of all water that were actually stagnant in the area, because they actually breed in stagnant water, or anywhere that has puddle of waters, they will be in their breeding. So we did find some, we have disposed of them properly. And we're just hoping that those that actually are still out there that we haven't caught as yet are males.
A female Cuban tree frog can lay anywhere from 100 to 1,000 tadpoles in one clutch and breeds year-round, whereas Dominica's local tree frog breeds 100 per clutch. Sultan explained that the Cuban tree frog is an aggressive species and affects both wildlife and human beings.
It is a big threat to us in Dominica because it will actually affect our natural and native ecosystem, meaning that they actually will predate on our local tree frogs, which the gonos and them, they actually eat the tree frogs. They can as well eat small lizards, so again our native lizard might be eaten by that same frog. Also snakes, they can actually go ahead and eat a little cool egg and those things, so they actually eat off almost anything that can fit in their mouth. And they're very good climbers, so they can go up in trees and as well eat the bird nest, the little birds and those things. So we don't want that Cuban tree frog in Dominica to actually affect our native and ecosystem. Another thing about it is that it's toxic. So we want to urge the general public that if they see a Cuban tree frog out there, they don't just go ahead and try and hold it in their hand. Please notify Forestry. They can call our number on 266-5852.
The Cuban tree frog, which is the largest tree frog in North America, ranges from 3 to 9 inches in size. Dominica's local tree frog, on the other hand, ranges from 2 to 3 inches. For the time being, the Cuban tree frog has been localized to the Portsmouth area, and Sultan is encouraging Dominicans to be vigilant in preventing the spread of these frogs.
The thing about the Cuban tree frog, it can actually camouflage itself to its environment. So you might see a tree frog looking palish white, some may be brown, some may be green, or some may be yellowish. So it all varies in its location. The distinctive that you can actually find it is with, as well as its toe. Its toe is rather much largely webbed, Whereas a mountain chicken or tree frog, they actually have individual toe pads. The Cuban tree frog can move around mainly by hopping on person's vehicle, in wood, any little hole they can get in, they will get in there and they will traffic themselves on that. So we can just ask persons in the Portsmouth area in particular to just be vigilant in terms of if they have any stagnant water in the area to throw it away. If you have water that you're using maybe, or it's just there, you can as well put some oil in it so that the frogs don't go in there and lay off. Or they can at least put chlorine in any water that they're using so that if it gets in here, they won't be able to hatch.
Sultan says the Forestry Division continues its heightened surveillance at the various ports of entry to reduce the incidence of invasive species making it past the country's borders. And the 2018 Emancipation Celebrations are set to get underway on Friday with minimal impact from Hurricane Maria. Chief Cultural Officer Raymond Lawrence says the events for this year's Emancipation Celebrations truly reflects Dominica's culture, and while it is only a week of activities, the calendar shows no major impact or setback by last year's Category 5 storm.
I mean, things could always be better, let's put it that way. Like you could maybe have more resources, more money, more staff, more everything, you know, to help to boost things even more. But then, in other words, you try to work with what you have. You try to work with what you have, and you try to do your best and ask God to do the rest for you. But and so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do our best.
The activities start on Friday, 27th July, and include a tribute to cultural stalwart from Castle Bruce who passed away last year.
The activities now for Emancipation will start on Friday, July 27th, with an art exhibition that is being presented by Dexia and the Waitukubuli Artists Association. So they're working in collaboration with us, and they're staging it at the stadium on Friday, starting at 5 in the afternoon. Then we have a fashion show and a steel pan festival on Saturday, July 28th here at the Old Mill, starting at 7. And the next event will be our Emancipation Cultural Showcase in Castle Bruce. It's a community concert, and it's a tribute to the late Francois Banis, who passed on last year after the hurricane.
The first ever youth music festival also forms part of activities for Emancipation Celebrations.
For the first time, we're doing a youth music festival. Usually the focus has been on, you know, the more adult bands and the more adult everybody. But this time we thought, why not give our youth an opportunity to shine in a festival? And so we've selected 3 bands, different genres of music, and our final event will be the Golden Drum Award ceremony and concert, which we have every year, in which we recognize outstanding individuals in the field of arts and culture. So that will be held on Saturday, the 4th of August at the Old Mill as well.
When persons with TB sneeze or cough, healthy persons nearby breathe in the droplets and the bacteria can lodge in their lungs. People with weakened immune systems such as HIV/AIDS, alcohol and drug users, smokers, children, and the elderly are most susceptible. Persons with a cough should take precautions when in contact with persons in public places. Cover your mouth when sneezing and coughing. Visit your doctor or health center. You must complete your treatment. TB can be cured even with HIV. Be responsible. Help stop the spread of TB and HIV. Protect yourself and others.
To end the news, the headlines again. Opposition MPs praised the budget response while claiming the budget was empty. The National Youth Council President welcomes provisions in the 2018-2019 national budget geared at youth advancement. And the invasive Cuban tree frog places Dominica's ecosystem under a new threat. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access or past the newscast on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.